Hello and welcome to the second of our two-part video series looking at A View from the Bridge, which is a play by Arthur Miller. In this second video, we'll be looking at all of the key characters in detail in this play, as well as the key themes and key points of analysis. And these are all really essential, particularly if you are revising this on a last-minute basis for an exam. Also, these are very useful notes to bear in mind, particularly if you're preparing a coursework on this play. So now, looking at the key characters specifically. So the main protagonist of this story is Eddie Carbone. He is quite selfish and jealous, and we learn that he doesn't accept when things change in his life. And this is perhaps what we could call his tragic flaw, his hamartia, which ultimately leads to his downfall. Some critics suspect that he has romantic feelings for his niece, Catherine, and this is what drives his anger and ultimately his own death. Alfieri is the other key character. He's a middle-aged lawyer, and he symbolizes the cross between American law and a more primitive tribal law. So Alfieri is both American and Italian, and the Italians, like himself, have very strong customs like loyalty to family, and these customs sometimes clash with American ways and the American country in which they reside. He's the narrator, and he tries to be as unbiased as possible in his recounting of this tale. The other key character is Rodolpho. He's a blonde man and he's a fully Italian young man, so he really encompasses everything in terms of Italian nationality and identity when we see him. He reveals little about himself in the play and mostly serves as an opposite to Eddie, so he serves as a foil to Eddie. He highlights all the shortcomings that Eddie himself has. All we know is that he very much wants to become an American citizen. Catherine is Eddie's niece and arguably the person who sets this play in motion. She's intelligent and beautiful and popular amongst the boys in town. The reason why you could argue that she really sets the play in motion or the tragic events in motion are because she's primarily the key focus of Eddie, who's the protagonist. And she constantly seeks her uncle's approval for everything in life, including the man she wishes to marry. So now, moving on to the themes. The first major theme is betrayal. So Miller himself was asked to testify in front of the House of Un-American Activities Committee for knowing communist sympathizers. So bear in mind, contextually speaking, that this play was set post-Second World War in the 1950s, whereby there was a lot of political tension between America and the Soviet Union, which is known as Russia today. The Soviet Union was communist, so they ran their country with a completely different ideology. And in America, there was kind of a witch hunt for people who might have sympathetic leanings towards communist ideals. And Miller himself was made a target. Now, this is interesting when you're thinking about betrayal and this theme, because in many ways, what is interesting in the play is that Eddie is faced with a similar dilemma when he decides to report his cousins for being illegal. Miller, so the author Arthur Miller, went with what his community of artists would praise, and he refused to sell out. However, Eddie went against the Italian community's tradition of protecting each other, and Eddie is killed for what he does, which could be Miller's way of showing that that selling out other people has bad consequences for everyone. Another interesting theme to bear in mind is community versus national law. So the Italian community was incredibly strong, and in some ways today is still very strong. Whilst immigrants follow American law, they do bring on their own cultural customs and values, and there's a tension throughout the play between doing what's right according to Italian culture, i.e. protecting the men, but also doing what's legal and what's important according to American law, which is reporting any illegal immigrants, and Eddie follows American law but to his detriment. Another interesting theme is the theme of instinct and irrationality. So the more Eddie begins to lose control of his life in the play, the more rash he acts. By the end of the play, he's doing things we never suspected his character of being capable of. He calls immigration on the men he invited to stay with him in the first place. And Miller is trying to demonstrate that there is an animalistic side to humans. We panic when we start to lose control and do rash things to try and fix it. So now, when it comes to symbols, the Brooklyn Bridge is the first interesting symbolic item. The bridge serves as a link between the residential communities in Brooklyn and the boundless opportunities in Manhattan. It also symbolizes the link between American and Italian culture. So Alfieri is the only one we see standing on the bridge, as he is also a bridge between American laws and Italian customs. High heels are another symbol, so Catherine wears high heels throughout the play. They represent her womanhood and her growing sexuality. Eddie doesn't like her wearing them, and this shows his jealousy and possession, and Catherine actually likes the power and attention that these heels grant her. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, do give us a thumbs up, and please do subscribe to our channel for more educational videos and revision sheets. Thank you.